Welcome to the Junior Golf Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping parents and juniors navigate through the journey of junior golf. From fitness to mental coaching, we cover it all on this podcast. Here's your host, Ro Thompson.
Cool. Thanks so much.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Junior Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Ro Thompson. And as always, we got a special guest on the broadcast tonight, none other than Coach Chip Ridley. What's up, Coach? How you doing?
Oh, man, Ro, doing beautifully. Not so excited as weather turning dark so early, but what a wonderful way to spend the evening and deal with the darkness a little bit.
Yes. This is getting dark about 5:30 now?
Man, it's terrible, isn't it? But that's just for us golfers.
I know, right? I know. But man, welcome to the podcast tonight, man. We got a lot to talk about. And before we get into all the golf stuff, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the game of golf.
Excellent. Yeah. So, I've been a coach since 2011, graduated Clemson PGA management in 2010, and knew pretty early I didn't want to sit behind a counter and do budgets. So I went ahead and interviewed for a first tee coaching position. So I became a first tee coach right out of college in February of 2011 and did that for 7 years. And really just migrated towards my own golf academy in 2017, 2018. So I'm the owner and operator and director of instruction at the Next Shot, Best Shot Golf Academy here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, but it's also a performance golf academy. We work with players, across the nation on all things that may go into their game that isn't just their golf swing. I have a beautiful wife. She was a 4-year golfer at USC Upstate, where she was all conference and all American a couple of those years. Okay. And so get to bring the game of golf home a little bit and discuss things with her. And then just, a little bit about myself. I'm very passionate about all sports. I'm a dog lover and just truly love going on the journey of what it takes to be an athlete day in, day out. So kind of like a beautiful mind in that regards. It consumes me, but keeps me busy too.
Yeah, you can tell you're passionate about it, and we'll talk about all the stuff you're doing in the coaching world. And of course, we as parents, we're passionate about it, because we're putting into the game and we're putting into the kids. But man, so talk about how you got started in the game of golf.
Absolutely. So my father was a letterman at Wofford College in tennis, and he never picked up a golf club until he was 25 years old. But, didn't become a tennis pro. So through business and everything else, he picked up the game of golf. I have 2 older siblings that are quite a bit older than me, and he got them into golf. And so he taught me the game when I was 7, and, he basically just handed me a putter and let me go out with him, and he dropped me off on the fringe when him and his buddies would play, and he let me whack it around a couple times until it either went in the hole or I was too distracting, and I picked it up.
Right. And
the first time I think I shot, somewhere in the hundreds that I kept score, but when I got it down to about 76, 75, he bought me a wedge. So and then after that, kind of just built my bag from the green backwards. So it is pretty funny story around our dinner tables that, I feel like my dad sort of invented one of the, methods of the game called Operation 36 right now.
Of course, great program.
Great program.
Love
but I feel
program.
like Dad had it panned out pretty early too, because he just said, once you can beat me with a putter, I'll buy you a wedge. And then we just kept adding a club back from that. And just fell in love with the game. But reality, I was like so many kids, I played multiple sports, and it wasn't till I got pretty sick at 12 years old that I couldn't play baseball or swim anymore, that I really dove into, what it took to get better at golf and made it more of a passion, and then ultimately led to competition from there. And then, never looked back because the game's so dang difficult. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Shout out to Ryan Daly and all the crew at Operation 36.
They are wonderful.
They're doing a great job and really growing. They're really growing the game. So
absolutely
good.
And just to that point, just what a cool methodology it is that allows kids to shoot low scores and not get frustrated by starting so far away.
Yeah, I wish I wish that program was around when John came up. And if I said if I had to do it all over again, I would make sure John went through that program just to learn from green to teeth,
Yeah, green backwards, absolutely.
That's just a great way to learn it. So you went through your golf, junior golf, and the whole nine. And so what inspired you to get into coaching?
Yeah, so essentially, I have a phrase that I use all the time from an old Disney movie and it basically says "skate better," and it's about a young man getting advice from his 8-year-old sister, and she says, "Just skate better." And I think with golf, it's so inspiring to consistently want to skate better, want to chase better. That better never stops. So many great coaching programs out there, Vision 54, 18 birdies, all these things, because we're chasing something that we're never going to get. And it's just so rewarding, to go on the journey with players, especially young people. Right. And you can be, in lockstep with someone that has the same goals and, experiences and wants the same outcomes that you do as a coach for them. And that just becomes really magical. So I get such a sense of pride from understanding what a young person or any player for that matter is capable of, and then trying to inspire them each day. So I'm sitting here talking to you at the same place that I'll do all of my performance calls. And behind me is a sign that says "Drink champagne and dance on the table." And we always say, when we win, that's what we're going to do. We're going to drink champagne and dance on the table. But the inspiring part of coaching, Ro, is the fact is in golf, winning isn't winning. Anything can be a W. Right. Your top finish in a tournament, the first time you break 80 in competition, lowering your stroke average. So there's so much with golf that you can piggyback off of. It's also, gives you great job security, but also makes you frustrating a lot because, we're not handing out a lot of trophies. But, the winning isn't winning aspect allows you just to keep chasing. Literally day by day, shot by shot, you're chasing, something that, you're never gonna truly get. And although that can be frustrating, man, it makes this side of the job very rewarding. That's for sure.
There you go. One of the things that I like about you, Coach, is you go to your players' tournaments. Most coaches don't do that. Like, you and I were talking before the broadcast, and you got 7 players in one of the top junior tournaments in the state of South Carolina. I think it's like top 50 in the state. And so you've got some players that you're going to come out to watch. What drove you to separate yourself from most coaches that never come to the kids' tournaments to actually see what they're doing in the mix of a tournament?
Absolutely. So I mentioned a little bit about my first tee background. So the reason I left first tee is because I felt like as a PGA professional, I did have a little bit more to offer as far as the instruction and focusing on the development. But I just kept remembering that no matter how good a player of mine 7-iron was, or how good their putting stroke was, or how far they hit it off the tee, I'm always saying, man, you're ready. You're playing great. You're in a good spot. Let me know how you did. And it just didn't feel like that's what a coach was to me. It felt like I was an instructor. And I do think there's a little bit of a dichotomy in our industry about what makes a golf instructor and what makes a golf coach. And so for me, it was pretty simple. If I was going to go down the journey and I was going to tell people I was passionate about coaching, I just remember this one phrase I always told myself. My dad grew me up a huge University of North Carolina basketball fan. And I always was saying, I don't think Dean Smith ever got his players ready and sent them away and said, hey, let me know how you did. But remember, with 2 minutes to go in the first half, make sure you sub out. 14 needs to come in for 11. No, the coach is there. Coach is helping make decisions. He's involved. And, even though I can't do that all the time in the actual competition of golf,
Correct.
I get to be with my players before and after the rounds to go over some things, to tell them that, I enjoyed watching them play. And, if it's a little bit technical here, we can fix that. But more importantly, we talk about decisions that were made. What led you to try to go for it, under this tree and over that bunker? And,
Yes.
why didn't we pitch out to 40
Punch
feet
out
when we were
to 100 yards?
Yeah, exactly. What led to that decision?
Yes.
So, and I know that it's not common, obviously, whether you're a performance coach or an instructor or a full-on golf coach, whatever you want to label ourselves. But it's powerful. I truly feel like I get to help some families enjoy the experiences more, try to help them understand that, like, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. And, everyone calls, so my nickname is Coach Chop, because I used to sign my name on text messages, and it would autocorrect to Chop for some reason. So a lot of my players, a lot of players call me Chop. So we have a lot of these Chopisms, and
okay,
and one of those is, I tell parents, if we're truly buying trophies, we have a local trophy shop down the road that these trophies aren't very expensive. Right. If we just want to go buy them, we can do that. So just being on site and getting to experience these with the families and the teams. And then, I've gotten to see golf courses I never thought I would see, courses I never qualified for, going out to IMG Junior Worlds at Torrey Pines. I mean, I've never been to Torrey Pines, but you get a player that qualifies for that and you go, or, you go to Cog Hill, or you go to Pinehurst number 2. I mean, you get this. I had so many experiences in the game of golf on this kind of this second journey. Right. That I didn't have as a player, and those are quite intoxicating at the end of the day. It's hard not to go. They're not all winners, trust me. Some of the places, you're like, oh, I could be sitting on my couch. But
right.
I do hope the industry can lead more to that, because the game of golf, and especially young people that are trying to play a sport, they need their coaches with them and more involved at the actual game instead of just at the lead up.
Well, coach, if you think about it, most, college players and touring pros, the coaches travel with them. You see? So why not start it early so they Absolutely. Can get a taste of what it's going to be like when they actually make it to college and make it to, to the tour.
Oh, absolutely. We say a lot that that the two things that I think are most important in this game is you have to be coachable, and that's with any sport. But also with golf, you need to have to not need to be coached. But so being coachable, but then also being able to coach yourself is so important. So they need to be able to do both of those, because when they do get to college or they do get out on tour, and they need to listen to their team and they need to understand that. But it is so funny that you already mentioned that, because golf is one of the few sports that the better you get at it, the more help that's provided.
That's right.
Hey, you're a 13-year-old junior golfer just getting into it. Okay, well, here, go play 18 holes and carry your own bag. But you're a 23-year-old best player in the world. Well, we're going to let you have a caddy.
Right. You get more help. Yeah. One of the things that I did about 4 years ago, I said, you know what? I know John's not a pro right now, but let me build a team around him that can help him get better. Right. So whether it's mental, performance coach, swing coach, fitness, the whole nine, we kind of start putting a team together. So, when he goes to college, he's going to have that. If he makes it to the pro tour, we already got people that we already started to groom and put together as a part of his team. So it'll be an easy, smooth transition,
Absolutely. And those members of the team, know their role. And,
right.
So whether I'm a performance coach with a player and not the swing coach, or I'm the swing coach and not the sports psychologist if they've chosen to hire, a true sports psychologist,
Right.
or if I do two of the three or three of the three.
Correct.
I'm still not CEO because I'm still not parent.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's you guys.
We're just the
Oh,
managers.
sorry. I'm still not CEO because the
Right.
CEO falls on the player, but I'm also not CFO either. You're the chief financial officer.
There you go.
John's going to be the CEO. John gets to make the decisions, ultimately that about his game and his team and his
Correct.
coaches. But then you're the CFO because you write the checks. And there's no one person on the team that's more important than the other. So
Correct.
it is important to understand that golf is just like any other sport, and we do need a coaching staff, and we do need a team, to help everybody for that matter. So
That's
so
correct.
you're on the right. You beat the punch. You beat them to the punch too, man, for
That's
sure.
all. Yeah, just I tried to get just try to have the foresight and the vision of what the possibilities could be. So coach, let's get into a couple of little specifics.
Yes, sir.
We got a lot of juniors that listen to the podcast, and I wanted to ask you, if a player wants to get better, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking they do. Okay, I'm hoping they do. How many hours a day or a week should a junior invest into the game?
So I'm a little different when asked that question, and I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
But to me, getting better is about consistency.
Hmm.
And so I like our players to sort of build a consistent regimen, and that's going to include training. So, how often are you truly training your skills?
Hmm.
How much time, and is the time consistent? Meeting with your coaches, meeting with your team, whatever. Do you make sure that you get 30 minutes a week with your short game coach? Do you get an hour a week with your performance coach? Do you get an hour a week with your swing coach? Because that time is so paramount. And, you know, and then also always at least playing one round of golf that is meaningful. Because we can practice on the golf course, we can go out to 15 and try to hit that shot if that's a shot we're working on, it's a skill we're working on.
Hmm.
But I also always encourage our players to play at least one round of golf, 9 or 18 holes. Make sure
Hmm.
you determine that on the beforehand, but make it mean something. It's a challenge round. For a 10-year-old, it might mean if you shoot 44, you get ice cream for dinner, or you get to eat your ice cream first. If it's a
Right.
16-year-old, you know, maybe it's, you know,
Video
you
games.
play you exactly, or like I
Right.
said, or I don't have to hit trash out, something that can matter, and holding
Hmm.
yourself accountable for that score instead of doing all this work and then going to play in a golf tournament. And now all of a sudden it's the only time you've kept score for purpose, not for your own pleasure, but for purpose. And, and then I think so. And then to answer that question, that's kind of a roundabout answer is the training time to me should always double the amount of time you spent with your coaches. So if you work an hour a week, on your short game with a golf professional, then I
Hmm.
would expect you to at least put 2 hours of work in on what you learned, doubling that.
Okay.
If a player meets with me for 90 minutes once a week and we're really working on the golf swing, then let's double that and get 3 hours of those particular skills that week that we're working on, and then put them into place when you practice. Um, but and then again, you should absolutely have some time when you go to the golf course, and it's not
Right.
about anything. It's just random. You're asking Siri to pick a club, and you're playing with your friends. I mean,
Hmm.
there is time to just go out there and it not be structured, and that's time spent, right? That's hours,
Yeah.
but it's more that's more for your enjoyment.
Right.
But
Right.
when a player is training, I ask them to have block practice, so know what you're going to do
Hmm.
instead of every day be random and you're just
Right.
going through your bag. And well, I always joke about I watch a player practicing and it looks like they're just waiting for something to be wrong so they can fix it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and
Let
we
them have
definitely
the
have
fun.
and yeah. And I'll hit my 9 iron good check, 8 iron check, 7 iron check. Oh gosh, I can't hit my 5 iron today. What am I doing wrong? And that kind of always goes back to the grow versus fix mentality. So if you kind of block out what you're going to do, you tend to actually get better at something each and every day instead of going to the golf course every day.
That's
And then
good.
finally, again, and about the hours things like we never ask a player of ours to, make 200 5-footers, the night before a golf tournament, because they're still going to have a 5-footer on number one. And, they're not going to remember the 200 they made. They're going to remember, oh my gosh, I got to make this one. So sometimes that practice doesn't actually serve any kind of purpose. But if you're consistent with your training, you're consistent with your coach, and you're consistent with your mindset, then you typically get to go out and play free of worry and doubt. So having a consistent training regimen to me is more important than how much time you actually put in.
That's good. Now, so talk about this for a second. What, in your experience, what do you feel the part of the game that needs the most emphasis? And I know we can have differences of opinion, but in your experience, what part of the game needs the most attention?
So funny, a unique story comes to mind. I was playing in one of the more important tournaments here in South Carolina called the Southern Cross one year, and they had a guest speaker. The guest speaker was Jonathan Berg.
Yeah,
Jonathan Berg gets up there and he's talking, he's sharing all of his experiences, and everybody's hanging on the words he says. Then he talks for about an hour and 5 minutes, and everybody gets bored, doesn't want to listen anymore. And then he does a little Q&A. And I remember my coach, he's since passed away, but his name was Dana Moore, and he was my high school coach at Spartanburg High School. And I love Coach Moore. And he said, Coach, Jonathan, can you just tell everybody in the room what you think the most important club in the bag is? And you knew what Coach wanted him to say, and he knew he wanted him to say putter. And Jonathan came out and said driver. Absolutely, no question about it. The driver is the most important club in the bag. And Coach was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I mean, if you can't get off the tee, you can't play." The first shot is always the most important one because it sets everything up. So, and if you're long, you have an added advantage, and if you're not long, you need to be accurate.
That's true.
But so that's kind of my caveat there. But with us, when I decided to get into coaching, and especially performance coaching, I wanted to seek out as many professionals as I could to find out how they improve their game. And to a fault, every one of them said that they worked so much more on their strengths than they do their weaknesses.
Okay.
And when I asked why, it was because, well, if I'm a great iron player, say I'm Hideki Matsuyama, I'm the best iron player on tour. Well, if I decide that, for a month, I'm going to take 2 hours out of my ball striking regimen and add it to my putting. Well, all I'm going to do is start hitting it further away from the hole and start putting a little bit better. And they always feel that that's going to not change their results very much. Okay. So they continue to make their strengths a priority. Okay. So I believe that too. Continue to make your strengths a priority. And if you need improvement on your results, we have to add a little bit of time, to our weaknesses. So we might bring that block in addition to what we're already doing on our consistent regimen. We might need to add a block. That might mean 15 more minutes a day. It might mean 30 more minutes a day. It might mean one more session a week just on that particular skill. So I always believe that, working on your strengths is more important. But to go back to what, Jonathan said, the first shot, and then of course, your inside 100-yard game is so important. I mean, we got to hit the ball accurate off the tee, and then we got to be getting that ball in the hole as fast as we can to win the race. So the long stuff and the short stuff for real, because the harder we work, everybody tends to hit it good. So I'm a big fan of distance, and I'm a big fan of being able to get it in the hole very quickly from 65 yards too.
Yeah, that sounds good. So what's your what would you say out of the years of coaching, what's the biggest thing that you've learned as a coach that the juniors are missing, the junior golfers?
It's as easy as this. It's a phrase that I use that's very common, in the world of psychology or growth or anything. And it's what you can measure, you can manage. When I grew up playing, we didn't measure anything. We didn't keep track of anything. And so the biggest thing that I've learned is that we have to have our own scouting report.
Right.
and we have to self scout. We got to know with data driven, avenues, what we're good at, where we're not. What does the data say? Stats. What does the data say here? And I mean real stats, like proximity to the hole that you can do with Decade, average ball speed that you can do with your launch monitors, average distance to the holes with your launch monitors too. How often do we miss it left? How often do we miss it right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting 5% of holes a year that we're missing, or we're hitting the ball long on a pin that's at the back? We got to be able to measure stuff. So that's the biggest thing is what we can measure, we can manage. And then secondly, just that we have to find what it's like to play with joy. Because if you don't know who you are, then you don't know how good you can be. And we have to be able to look on the wall and say, hey, you see, like I know you probably did it with John, when you're marking how tall he's getting on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
I want to keep track. Oh, you've grown this much in this month, or this much in 6 months. And if you don't mark that line on the wall, then you can't understand it. And then, and like I said, just joy and eliminating expectations,
Yeah.
and eliminating comparisons to understand that, again, if we're joyful and it's all about ourselves and we're inner looking, then we're gonna get better. So I think that's the biggest thing. Even the thing that I didn't learn early on is, I thought there was a perfectionism of this game, and there's just simply not. So let's just measure it. Let's just measure it, and if we can measure it, we can manage it for sure.
That's right. That's right. So let's get into the mental part of the game. Golf is tough.
Absolutely.
Golf is tough, as we talked about. And, what do you do to work on the mental part of the game? Because I know you say you do a little bit of everything. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you do to help your players with that?
Absolutely. So, when I get working with a player, or really we, because we call it our academy, we're about we all work together. But when we add a player, a lot of ones say, like, oh my gosh, you're such a good mental coach. And I always stop them there and say, I'm a performance coach.
Right.
So I don't have the only letters after I have after my name, Row or PGA, not PhD. So the mental game is obviously important for everybody, but it's the performance game.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So
Mm-hmm.
we do our performance calls. We break down the analytics, and really that's a way to understand yourself. Like I mentioned earlier, is because if you can understand yourself, then the self talk, the body language, and the processes that you do, they will calm you down for you, and you don't have to battle those demons in your head as much as far as the mental game. So it's almost sort of being proactive versus reactive. So
Right.
we have a thing that I work on as far as that goes. And if it really is the mental, with the self talk, is that if you provide yourself with clear motivation about doing something. So if I say, hey, I am motivated that I can jump on my table, I can do this. I know I can. I can jump this high. I can jump on that table. And then I give myself clear instructions about how to do it. I got to bend down. I got to get my waist down to my knees. I got to drive from my heels. That's how I produce lift.
Mm-hmm.
And I give myself clear instructions about jumping on that table. And then understanding that, hey, it would be completely normal that I make it. It would be normal that I land on the table versus failing. And so that motivation self-talk followed by that instructional self-talk, and then that clear understanding of what normal is sort of how we address that. So it's normal. If it's normal for you as a 15-year-old to top 10 every tournament, then there's no reason to think you shouldn't do that, because it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we have to do that through instruction. We have to make fours on these holes and threes on these holes, and make a good decision here and a good decision there. But we make those good decisions through motivating ourselves too. So again, the mental game for me is it's the self-talk, and it comes from motivating self-talk, clear, concise instruction from the self-talk, and then finally saying, hey, it's the 5-footer that breaks a cup left or right. It's pretty normal for me to make this. Like I make a lot of these, and then that frees you up and clears your mind, and a lot of times we're more successful about that.
That's right. That's right. So coach, who's some of the coaches that come to mind that's influenced you in terms of the way you approach coaching the game and just getting better? Who's some of those people that
Absolutely.
in the past?
So the first instructional, I grew up, in the David Ledbetters and the Butch Harmon
Nice.
facilities. You know, Butch was always great. I joke a little bit that I feel like I want to be a little kind of like a little Butch,
Mm-hmm.
and so Butch Harmon's great because he always talks about how he just tells jokes on the driving range. He just gets his
Right.
players loose, and they're like, Butch, what do you actually do? He's like, I just make my players better. Well, how do you do that? Well, I mean, that's kind of just for me to figure out in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like my wife asks me all the time what I do for a living, and I'm like, I just watch leaderboards or I watch golf. That's all I do. I just watch for a living.
Right.
So definitely Butch growing up, because and also how good he was able to make Tiger swing in 2000 and Adam Scott swing over his entire career. So Butch Harmon for sure. And then obviously more recently, real challengers of the game like George Gankis.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of George. How he communicates instruction, how he communicates information, and the type of instruction that he does. Dr. Brett McCabe, on the sports psychology standpoint, he's
Mm-hmm.
really, really good across all sports. Except Dr. Brett McCabe there. And then locally, here we have a phenomenal instructor and coach. I believe he's in Florence. Paul Woodbury. He's been a
Yes.
nice little mentor. Yeah, Paul's been a good mentor of mine. I follow him on his social medias.
Yeah, he just
He's
moved.
very
He went to
okay.
Newport.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Camden, right? Is
No,
that right?
Sumter. Sumter.
Okay, Softer. Yep. And
Yes.
so yeah, Paul's brilliant. And
Mm-hmm.
just such and willing to help, willing to pass along information. And I'm still sort of a young pro, right? And only been at this for a couple of years. So there's a lot of instruction out there, and you kind of got to comb through, what's right and what's wrong. And then some people that I've never met, but I just follow. There's an influencer named Jordan Ferrone out there. He's kind of the ice bath guy.
Okay.
He's a guy that takes an ice bath every day and
Oh,
motivates you to do hard things. And
okay.
he's on like 700 and day 710 of taking an ice bath every day, and and he just
That's
shares his
cold.
journal.
That's torture.
That's cool. Hey, I'm on 21. I got day 22 as soon as we finish
Finish
up this
that.
broadcast.
Okay.
But I'm excited for that. And then there's a Scottish PGA professional, Alex Young. He wrote a book called The Practice Plan,
Mm-hmm.
where he really relates golf um, to other sports, even in fitness, and breaking down golf into how you actually should practice. So it's a phenomenal book. And then we just have so many great leaders, here and locally, like you said, you know, the developers of Operation 36,
Yeah.
and
Ryan Daly. Oh
there's a
my
book,
gosh.
Ryan Daly. Yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, slipped me. Ryan Daly, and I have two golf parents that I love. They wrote a book called The Drive Home. The
Yeah, that's my
McKinneys,
buddy Mark McKinney now.
Britt and Mark
Yeah,
McKinney.
Brett and Mark
Yeah.
McKinney. Yeah,
The Drive Home is I make every one of my parents read it and buy it, right? Absolutely. Go
exactly.
buy that. Go buy that book and realize what kind of dad you are. That's one of my favorite chapters in the book.
Right.
And then finally, my dad, and my parents and my wife. These are people who motivate me, every day to be better and encourage me to be on that journey. And we always joke that it's really hard being a coach's wife, because us coaches, we give so much of our time and our energy to others, and
Yes.
sometimes that doesn't feel like we bring all that energy home all the time. So and my dad was he was a basketball coach for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
just sort of at the rec level, but he taught us the right way. He always had a saying that said, we're only practicing one and one half hour a week, and I can't make you better, 90 minutes a week. you're gonna have to go get better on your own. And he's like, I'm here to help you, but we're a rec team and we only got 90 minutes, so you're gonna have to go home and work on it. But if you do, we'll show up Saturday morning. We'll be the best well coached team and the most disciplined team. So Dad he really knew how to coach, and then he inspired me to learn from great coaches, like Krzyzewski, like Dean Smith. I know you're a huge Gamecock fan, but I listen to Shane Beamer's press conference every week. Yeah. Obviously, Dabo's too for my Clemson Tigers, but great coaches are out there, and if you can learn from what they have to say, man, it's just like knowledge is power. So I'm always looking for somebody else to hit that follow button. Who I can learn from for sure.
That's exactly right, y'all. Yep, got Coach Chip Ridley here, y'all, from the upstate, runs an academy up there and doing some great things in the world of junior golf. Coach Chip, you got any funny stories you want to share with
absolutely. So absolutely. So I think this is one that you encouraged me to have ready. So of course there's good ones, but so I sort of got my start before this all came. Is there was a great player in our state, of course, Davis Petty, and he was nice enough to let me coach him from the time he was 7, and I caddied for him and all of the world championships and U.S. kids and all the cool things that he did, and I got to be on his bag, and we developed a cool team. So we're at the Saddlebrook Golf Academy Resort, or Saddlebrook Golf Resort, playing in the Under Armour World Championships, I think it was. Yeah, and exactly. And so we're playing, and my man's having a great round. And like I said, I don't love the word par and birdie. I like the words 4 and 3 better. But for the audience, he's 4 under through 11. Playing great. He has a little A wedge into 12, pulls it, short side himself a little bit, hits chip shot down to 6 feet, looks the 6-footer out. So we make our first bogey of the day.
Right.
Again, we're still 3 under through 12. We're still 3 under through 12, having a great day.
Right.
So he walks over the bag and he gives again, I think he's 10 or 11 at this point, but he's watched enough golf. Gives the putter a little throw, right? Chucks it at the bag, starts walking to the 12th tee.
That's funny already.
Yep. So I pick the bag up, and we get to 12, and I'll never forget it. It's a 115-yard par 3. He asks for the 8-iron. I hand the 8-iron. He hits it to 12, 15 feet, and we start walking up the fairway. And as he normally does, he just puts his hand out, and I give him a nice high five. I'm like, "Great shot, bro." He goes, "No," and he gives me 2 snaps, and I'm like, "What you snapping at?" He's like, "You know what I want? Give me the putter." I was like, "The putter?" I'm like, that thing's back where you left it, bro.
Where you threw it.
I was like, where you threw it. I said, I don't pick up trash off the ground. I was like, I figured you were done with it. It missed that putt, so I figured you were done with it. He's like, what? I said, yeah, man, it's still sitting back there. He's like, well, what am I gonna do? I said, I have no idea. I said, I got 13 other ones right here I can give you. I was like, but I don't have the putter to give you. So you're either gonna have to go back and get it if you've decided that it's no longer in timeout, or we're just going to have to putt with something different for the rest of the round. So, of course, he looks back and passes his mama as he's going back to get his putter.
Right.
He's like, where are you going? She's like, Chip left my putter on the ground. She goes, he didn't leave anything. I saw you throw it. And now he's like, no one's on his side.
Trouble from his mom, too.
Exactly. So he finally gets back to the 12th green. And, now he's so, upset or not worrying about anything. And of course, story's only good if he buries that putt, which he did, because he wasn't thinking about missing. He was thinking about how embarrassed he looked because he didn't have a putter, and I made him go back and get it. So
he probably won't throw too many more putters.
he anytime he laid it up against the bag after that and it fell down, he's like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't throw it. So I was like, listen, you're welcome. I got the cover. You're welcome to lay it up against the bag. You're welcome to put it back in. You're welcome to hand it to me. I said, but if you throw it on the ground, I'm leaving it right where you did. I don't pick up trash.
Yeah, he's a really good player. I was looking up some of his numbers. I think he's top 10 in his class. 20.
Yes. Yeah. So I believe he's currently in there's so many ranking systems now out there, as you know.
But I know
third maybe in the.
I checked Tuger, and I know he's top 10 in his class on.
Yeah. So I know he's top 10 Cougar, third on Junior Golf scoreboard. Number one in South Carolina. I think he's 12th in the state right now. About that, and with Davis's credit, he's just so consistent.
That's what
and
you
it
want.
just it's 72 to 74 every time he plays. He's only 13, so he's not quite long enough to make 7 or 8 birdies around, but he just keeps the ball in front of him, and he plays what he calls boring golf. I think to me he plays good golf. I'm not sure why it's boring, but
you can say good boring golf.
There you go. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm thrilled to still be on his journey. Like I said, he gave me the first opportunity to really be a coach and learn while caddying for him and figure out that the junior golf landscape is so much different than it was, when I came up, and so many more tournaments and rankings and things like that. We just didn't have the ability to manage that or to measure that stuff, 20 years ago. So again, and it's really nice that I'm able to have such a good friendship with Davis, just as I'm able to hopefully create that with all of our players that come through Net Shot Best Shot.
That's right. Now, Coach Chip, do you get a chance to play much?
I do. So I always get ready about this time of year. I'm in the simulator. I get a little bit more free time, and then I always jump out first of the year and get ready for a tournament in March. The Players Championship for the CPGA. It's down in Hilton Head. And I go down there and I played it last year. Took some time off before that, but that's always kind of the jumping off point for my year. But then I always say I'm gonna play in 6, 7, 8 tournaments a year. That never seems to happen. So I don't play as much anymore. Again, goes back to me. The fact is, recreational golf's not exactly my thing. Competitive golf is. So I need a tournament, or at least a dogfight, or a match or something. Yeah. Going out and playing 9 holes in the evening after work. I got some things that I could do that might strike my interest a little bit more than that. But if I sign up for an event, I make sure I'm ready for it. So I like to train and get ready.
There you go. Now, if you could put your dream foursome together, who would be in your dream foursome?
Oh my gosh. So, definitely MJ, Michael Jordan, just from all the things that he learned, and then Tiger. And then that fourth spot would rotate a lot, but right now I probably PJ Fleck, the head coach of Minnesota football team.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a big Minnesota guy these days. I have a friend of mine who works on the staff at with the Minnesota Vikings, so I've gotten to learn a lot more about the NFL and how it works.
Yeah.
And then I got to go visit the golf facilities at the University of Minnesota, and then I just like PJ Fleck a lot. Row the boat. So if I don't even know if he plays, but if he does it, he can just come out and just inspire me all day to play my best. But again, as you can see, Tiger. The whole reason I play golf and am in golf is because of Tiger, and he made it cool. And then MJ is just the GOAT. But yeah, PJ Fleck for sure, because I've always wanted to meet that guy. So if anybody's listening has any more connections in Minnesota, you can get me get me some time with PJ. I'd like to kick around his brain a little bit.
There you go. So I'm gonna name some golfers or coaches, and I want you to tell me what come to mind when you hear the name.
Okay.
All right.
Sort of rapid fire, huh?
Yes. There you go. David Ledbetter.
Technical. Yeah. Very technical, strict technical positions, early set, as far as club face goes. Yeah, but very technical.
Okay. Arnold Palmer.
Creative, and strong. Yeah, I mean, could believed in himself, strong-minded, strong-willed, strong forearms. From Pennsylvania. He got it in and out of the dirt really well, but creative. Just loved watching his tenaciousness too. But yeah, creative, because he was never afraid of a shot.
Yeah, and didn't have the most sound swing, but just believed in his swing.
Not one you would teach.
No.
Absolutely. Yeah. That one doesn't seem to come up on the V1 sports apps, when
Right.
you're comparing it. For some reason he's not in the library. But I mean, you'd love to have his career and and what he
Yeah.
did for the golf channel and starting the golf channel. I mean, we're all
And
indebted to the
business
king
too.
for. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pilot, absolutely. So yeah, so just creative amongst all facets of the game for sure.
Yeah, I think I looked up his net worth, and I think his net worth was like 600, 700 million dollars. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
absolutely. And so little of that was made on the golf course, right? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Easy.
I
Yeah.
mean, just
Especially.
yeah. I mean, he might have made $3-4 million his whole career playing golf, if that.
Yeah.
On
All
the
right.
golf course, that is.
Tiger Woods.
Uh Iconic. You
Right.
know, I mean, the reason so many play, but iconic.
Yeah.
The needle,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he is the needle in our game, and
Right.
um, and you know, Nate Mickelson said it best about him one time is they all should be indebted to him at how much money he made everybody, because he
Yeah.
made everybody a million. He made everybody a millionaire.
That's right.
It's what he did for the game of golf that is so iconic. Our sport, it's not always. I mean, where are we? Sea Island this week, right? For the RSM
Yeah.
Classic.
Sea Island.
Whoever wins the RSM Classic can come in to my golf club um, Monday morning, and definitely to any restaurant in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and eat dinner, and no one will know who he is.
Yeah.
But Tiger don't have to play around for 5 years, and he can't go anywhere without anybody knowing, golfers or non-golfers alike. So definitely one of the true icons in sports for sure.
All right. Last one. Butch Harmon.
Coach. Yeah, I mean, that's what he is. I mean,
Right.
he's coach. He's just joyful. I mean, just he makes you believe in yourself, and I mean that's why so many have worked with him for an elongated period of time or gone for a quick consult. I think I was watching. He did an interview with Iona, somebody, I can't remember her last name, on YouTube, and
Mhm.
and then they're talking to Ricky Fowler, and they said, tell us about Butch. Like, well, the biggest thing about Butch is you never leave Butch not feeling better about yourself. He
Mm.
always makes you feel better than about yourself than when you got there. And to me, that's what a coach is. So um, I still have coaches from my childhood, and when I see them in the supermarket, it's "What's up, coach?"
Yes.
And I think coach is I'm proud, privileged to be called that, but I don't lose sight of the opportunity and the responsibility that it comes with. So, I don't use that word lightly for sure, but that's what Butch is. He's coach for sure.
Good, good. Now, Coach, we get ready to wrap it up. Again, you're building an incredible academy in the upstate. You got 7
Thanks so much.
players, and I want my audience to listen to this. Yeah, you got 7 players in the Players Championship in South Carolina this weekend. That's one of the biggest tournaments of the year. How can our audience reach you if they want to, bring their children to the academy, and
Mm-hmm.
what's the best way for them to find you?
Absolutely. So we grow our academy, organically, and so if it's just for golf instruction, of course, we're happy to, have anyone down to the Creek Golf Club. But my information is on the creekgolfclub.com website. You can
Okay.
follow us on Instagram at Next Shot Best Shot Golf Academy. We don't have a website. Again, we're not mass produced because we do want to, keep the the performance up and to keep the quality of the performance up. It's
Mhm.
not about total numbers, but
Right.
we'd love, we're always trying to help everybody we can, in whatever ways we can. But Next Shot Best Shot Golf Academy on Instagram, and then the creekgolfclub.com. You can read a little bit more about my bio and my teaching philosophy and my coaching philosophy as well. Or just, like we say all the time, come on down to the Creek Golf Club and hang out. And, I'm on that range every day. So as Coach Harmon said all the time, he said the driving range isn't a bad place to live your life. So that's where you can find me. That's where you can find me for sure. Day in,
Great.
day out. But again, follow us on Instagram. We'd love to. We're always posting inspirational stuff, motivational stuff, swing tips, things of that nature. And then if you have a player in South Carolina, that or adults are listening to this, or if you are a player and you see me at golf tournaments, feel free to come up and chat. And always willing to, like I said, as PGA professionals, we have a responsibility to grow the game. So would love to chat with anyone who's interested, for sure.
Good deal. Well, listen, Coach, thank you for jumping on tonight and blessing us with all the coaching stories and all the things that the juniors need to do. And good luck this weekend to you and the players. And I'm sure I'll see you out there, right?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And good luck to John as well. We'll be on the road similar times tomorrow. And again, thank you, Ro. Thank you for what you're doing for the game. Thank you for doing the game of golf as well. All these avenues are so good just to get information out there and to build these communities. And we play a lonely sport, so the more friends we have in the game, the better. And like I said, so we really appreciate what you're doing for the game of golf as well. And I know John just signed, or at least I know he committed. Yes. I don't know if he had his signing day.
Yeah,
so that's awesome. That's exciting. So we'll wish him luck too, and we'll talk soon. And like I said, thank you so much for what the Junior Golf Podcast is doing, for everybody. And I'm blessed to have been a guest.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Junior Golf Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in this topic. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch in the comments or on any of our social media networks. See you next week for a new episode